My dad is dying from stage 4 pancreatic cancer. We just started chemo number 16, and it is a great privilege to be here, but I know that the end will come. And so I wanted to start a series where I would tell the story because I think it will help me to prepare for grieving. Um, the story for me starts with one day in March or April. I think it was March of last year. In March of last year, I get a call from my brother, my sister-in-law. I can't remember. And this call basically is like, my father has been complaining about stomach problems. And he was complaining about it for a few months. But originally he had said that he was going to get a scan done in Taiwan, and that was like before Thanksgiving. And then when he came back from his Taiwan trip, we were like, "Did you get the scan?" And he was like, "Oh no, I didn't have time. I'm going to do it at my next Taiwan trip," which was in December. And so we were like, okay. So then, and the reason was like, it's cheaper. He can understand more clearly what the doctors are saying, anyways. And then so it's March and he hasn't gotten a scan yet. He said that he's seen a GI, gastrointestinal whatever doctor here in Houston, and then they did a colonoscopy and an endoscopy and they didn't see anything. And so they're like, "Oh, you're probably just having some kind of like," and our family has a history of lower torso cancers. Um, and so he had been telling my sister-in-law that it was hurting a lot, more than he was telling me and my brother, and all kinds of patriarchy, masculinity, and that. Gosh, reliving this right now is like emotional. um so we hop on a call, me and my brother and my dad, and my brother and I are like, just go to the hospital. Like, just go to the hospital. Like, that's what they're for, especially if the pain is like keeping you up, like you can't sleep, you can't eat. And like, my dad is saying he's fine. He's like, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." And there was one point in that conversation where he was like, "Trust, like, you need to trust me." And I'm having all kinds of emotional flashbacks. And my dad is not a bad dad. I think that's what I've come to really terms with. Like, he's not a bad dad. He was doing the best he could with so many societal things. Like, he grew up in Taiwan during martial law, right? Like, um, and for me, I I, as a kid, was tried my best to be the peacemaker between my parents, and they eventually got divorced. I can't really oppose my dad. I'm the younger brother. I'm also more sensitive. I'm gender fluid, as I know now. But I left a door open for my brother. And I was like, me and my brother, we have always, like, we need to do things together because we are just phenomenal when we do things together. And I was like, I'm going to leave a door open for him. And at the end of the conversation, because I was, God, it's still hard. Like, I felt very gaslit. And I've been recovering from excommunication after coming out as queer. So being gaslit is still like a really, really painful feeling. And then, but I left the door open for my brother and I said, if we, like, that we love you, like, to my dad, like, that we love you. And he was like, "Yes, I feel that love." And I was like, "Because we love you, we might disobey you." And he laughed, and I was like, "But it's true," right? Like, because we love you, we might disobey you. And so we hung up, and I was actually going to New York like, I think the day or next day. And so my brother, I was like, what do you think we should do after the phone call? We hung up with my dad, and he was like, I'm gonna go. And I was like, good, I left the door open for you, right? So my brother flew to Houston, basically told my dad before he got it, he was like, I'm on a plane. Like, I'm coming. And I think my dad knew. Like, I think he felt it. And I feel like that's kind of like the weird push and pull in our family culture, which is like, you have to say no, 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 no. Like, don't look at me. I'm fine. I don't bother. Don't be bothered. I won't be a bother. And to love somebody, and I don't think this is always healthy, but it's just what we were, right? Like, to love somebody is to disobey them, right? To be like, I'm going to risk your ire so that I can do the thing that I think is right for you. My brother showed up, right, and like super early in the morning, and drove my dad to Memorial Hermann in Houston, went to the emergency room, and they did a scan, and they found the mass, and they did the biopsy. And from what my brother tells me and what my dad tells me, the biopsy was so painful, which makes sense. Like, you're piercing into the body and you're removing like parts of it. Like, and my brother, God bless him, because like this long grief part, my caretaking part, I don't think that he could do. But that part, the being in the hospital and like, and having to wait and having to just, and then, God, like, I'm so thankful for my brother. Like, to all the people who are like, that's the way, like, that they can, like, I'm so thankful. Yeah. And then we knew stage 4 pancreatic cancer that had spread to the liver. And I went to New York with my wife because we had a planned trip. And I'm grateful for that now. Like, I understand now that cancer and chemo is a long battle. It's probably, it's a long battle. And I needed that moment with my wife and in a new place with good friends. And I was going to fly in right after. And I'll tell that story next. But I think that first moment of finding out and knowing that your whole world is about to shift. And I also but I had a hard time because I was like, you told me not to worry. Like, you told me not to worry, and I wanted it to be okay. But it wasn't okay. And there's a lot of regret. I wish I'd pushed him. I wish I'd cared more. And there was a lot of those things in those first couple days. I think it's just natural. You're like, I should have done this, I should have done that. And it just takes you a while to come down and be like, I did what I did. We're here. What do we do next? I guess that's part 1. Yeah, I guess that's part